It's been 2 weeks since a man was mauled to death here on the city's southwest side. Neighbors who witnessed the attack tell us they felt helpless. Now, 2 weeks later, they say they feel helpless again as they face threats. Did it ever get to a point where you feared for your safety?
Yes, and for my family.
Belinda Rodriguez lives near the spot where one man was killed and several people were injured in a dog attack. She says she reported the house where the dogs lived multiple times. Her neighbor is the victim named in the arrest affidavits for Destiny Marie Cardona. Police say Cardona is the sister of Abilene Schneider, who co-owned the dogs involved in this attack. The alleged victim says Cardona and others told her, quote, "You are going to pay for this," and, quote, "We are going to kill your son, bring him to you, find you, and kill you."
She called me yesterday. She felt, relieved, some relief, she says. But she says now we're waiting to see what happens next.
Rodriguez says she's been threatened too.
Egging of the house, toilet paper, fireworks, name calling.
Police are now investigating those incidents. Attorney Robert Jimenez says retaliation cases happen often. They're classified as a third-degree felony.
A third-degree felony is punishable by anywhere from 2 years in the Texas Department of Corrections up to a maximum of 10 years.
State lawmakers are already considering how to make reports for these situations more private to prevent retaliation. District 5 officials say they won't be commenting on the ongoing investigation. A spokesperson says in an email, quote, "Any help that state legislators can give us in order to streamline and protect individuals throughout the reporting process is greatly appreciated." For now, neighbors are still on edge.
And I don't know when these people are going to come out or what's going to happen.
At 1:43 this afternoon, San Antonio Fire Department and Police Department were dispatched to the 2800 block of Depla for an animal bite. Ladder 33 and Medic 33 responded to this incident. Reports from the Ladder 33 crew that as they rounded the corner, they could see a gentleman being dragged by a dog. They could see him completely bloodied before they got off of the fire truck. This is not something normal for us. We usually don't show up and have to defend patients from animals or ourselves. The firefighters were very heroic in this instance, fighting off these pit bulls with pickaxes and pike poles to try to get to the patients. During that time, one of the captain on the ladder was bitten in the leg. Thankfully, he is okay. Unfortunately, we do have two people that were mauled by these dogs. We're confirming the fatality of a approximately 80-year-old male who was treated, given whole blood on the scene and transported, along with a female that is a priority 1 in critical condition. She was also transported. They are both at UH at this time. We have reports of another individual with a bite to the hand that has been transported at this time. So again, horrific scene, horrific for the people that experienced this, and again, horrific for our firefighters that were a part of this, basically a rescue to save themselves and to save these people that they responded on today. I'm going to let PD give you a little more information, and then we have Shannon Sims here from Animal Care to fill in any other blanks, and I'll come back and answer any questions. Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon. Like Chief Foot said, our officers were also dispatched for the same incident. Upon arrival, they did discover that fire was on scene, and there was one of the fire captains had been bit. ACS was notified, and they did make the location. The investigations are very preliminary at this point. ACS is going to be the lead agency at this point. It is a multi-agency call. So I'm going to let Mr. Sims come up and talk about what they're doing, and then we'll answer any questions jointly afterwards.
So again, just to kind of reiterate both what Chief and PD have kind of passed, we did have officers respond as soon as we got the call. Upon us getting there, we were able to get custody of all the animals that were involved, all the animals from the property. Made location, and also were able to kind of question the owners of the animals. And again, as SAPD said, this is a very preliminary point in the investigation. So before we really kind of talk about where we go forward from here, it's more about getting all the facts, putting those together, and finding out through the cooperation of these two agencies, where we move forward on from a criminal aspect.
Can you talk about how many animals there were and what breed they are and how old they are?
So I don't know the ages of the animals. I do know they were Staffordshire Terriers. There were 2 that we know for a fact that were involved with the attack. There was a 3rd animal from the same location that was free of restraint. So all 3 of those animals have been taken in.
Have you received calls about these animals before?
These animals were involved in a previous bite 2 years ago. I don't know the exact date, but in 2021, they were impounded for a mild bite.
Okay. Have you received calls from neighbors about the dogs being loose in the streets?
There have been calls over the last 2 years, here and there, stray, neglect, and aggressive non-critical.
So, and the female, how old was the female? I know the male was 80, but
I don't have that information.
Okay. And are they related to the dogs in any way?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Oh, so they belong to somebody else?
Yes.
And were the victims outside? Did the dogs, walk into their...
The victims were outside. All 3 animals were free of restraint, in the, outside of their property.
Right. But I mean, they were in the street or in their yard. The victims.
I don't know where it all
Victims
began.
were, the attack was on the sidewalk, right by the red car, where you sit.
Shannon Sims.
Shannon what?
Sims, S-I-M-S.
And your title?
I'm the Director of Animal Care Services.
Shannon, can you talk about, with all these complaints, I'm hearing neighbors specifically say they have called 311, they have called police about these dogs, about that house. There's been multiple bites in the neighborhood related to these dogs. Why were they still allowed to return?
The only bite that we have knowledge of that was reported to ACS was, again, the bite back in 2021. Those animals were quarantined. They were pulled from the owners. However, by state law, unless there is an affidavit or a severe bodily injury case or something like that, again, those bites were mild. So those animals finished their state-required quarantine, and the owner paid reclaim fees, and by state law, we were required to return those animals.
So what happens to the owners now? Are they facing charges?
There are potential charges. Again, we're in the early stages of the investigation, and so as we get all the facts together, it would be real kind of putting the cart in front of the horse to say what those charges would be right now.
Would it potentially be a manslaughter charge?
We're looking into that.
Yeah.
We can't assume any charges at this point. The investigations are so early in the preliminary stages that we can't say what charge, if any, are going to be filed at this point.
Are the
At this
animals
point,
going to be
will
put
those
down?
dogs be returned?
No, ma'am. Those animals are on their way to ACS, where they will stay until the completion of the investigation and final determination of where we go with the case.
Okay, once the investigation is complete, will they return if they are cleared, if the investigation is cleared?
That all depends on the situation. We're still gathering all the facts.
And so the dogs, male, female?
I'm not even sure what the sexes are. I think there were 2 females and 1 male, if I recall.
Can you quickly just kind of wrap up what the owners are responsible for in order to secure their dogs in their homes?
Yeah, absolutely. So in situations, anytime an individual is attacked or accosted by an animal off their property, there is the potential to deem those animals as dangerous. By state law, this requires a witness or victim come forward, an actual visible witness, come forward and fill out an affidavit. That's one of the first things that I looked at when we looked at the 2021 case. An affidavit was not filed, therefore we could not move forward with that dangerous dog designation. But the owners are required to have their animals on their property. This is a completely different situation if someone dies on the property where the animals are supposed to be enclosed. But obviously the situation is much different here.
What happened with the dogs? They're going to take them.
What happened to them? They've been removed by Animal Care Services, and they will be in our quarantine kennels for the foreseeable future.
Does anyone know the relationship between the man and the woman?
Right.
Victims?
I think victims.
It's unclear right now, but it appears that they may have been a married couple. But again, don't quote me on that. I mean, I think that's the relationship, but I don't have that confirmed.
Do you have an update on her condition?
She was transported as a priority 1. She is conscious, but she's in critical condition at this time.
Do you know if they lived in this neighborhood?
Again, preliminary indications are that they were visiting.
Esposo, ¿me puede dar algo breve en español?
Una pregunta en español.
Sí, más que todo las víctimas, cuáles son las edades y si murió alguien o...
Okay, esta tarde, pasando a las 1:40, dos individuales fueron atacados por unos perros en la calle del 2800 bloque de Depla. Los bomberos llegaron y para atender la llamada fue para una mordida de perro. Llegaron los bomberos para atender a las víctimas, pero cuando llegaron encontraron que los perros estaban atacando a la víctima. So, los bomberos salieron de su camioneta y atentaron a salvar a la gente que estaban atacados. Uno de los capitanes de los bomberos fue mordido de un perro. Él está herido, pero va a estar bien. Las dos víctimas y el bombero, todos fueron llevados al hospital. Una de las víctimas, un señor de 80 años, falleció de sus heridas. Y la otra víctima, no sé la edad de ella, pero también era una víctima de edad mayor, una mujer. Ella está en condición crítica en el hospital. El bombero que fue mordido está herido, pero va a estar bien.
Entonces se confirma un hombre de 80 años que falleció debido a la...
En los 80, no sé la edad exacta, pero está en los 80.
Él falleció.
Él falleció.
Debido a las mordidas.
De sus heridas del ataque.
Fueron dos perros los que atacaron a las víctimas.
Esta información es preliminary, pero parece que eran dos perros, pero había una tercer perro que estaba que estaba suelto, pero no se sabe si ese perro está envuelto en este ataque.
Entonces se podría decir que fueron dos perros.
Dos perros definitivamente, sí.
Chief, can you talk about the injuries that the firefighters had?
Fortunately, the captain on ladder 33 received a leg wound, a bite. But seeing as far as how they battle these dogs, a couple of firefighters are emotionally probably scarred from this. So we're making sure that we have our folks go out to the station and meet with them, because again, nobody expects to go out and fight dogs in a situation like they did today. So fortunately, everybody's going to be okay now.